Hello, and welcome to my after action report slash deck build for the Machine Empires game that I just finished up here. I decided to do it as a AAR instead. Just try the different format, I guess, see if it works. So let me know what you like better, I guess. Do deck builds at the beginning of the series or deck builds at the end of the series? And a lot of this is because this deck was kind of continually evolving as I tried to figure out how to make it work. So let's go through how I did it. Kicking on things off with infantry as per usual. I think the machine infantry is really, really good. Better than I used to give them credit for sure. And after playing this one, I'm also kind of looking at cyborgs and thinking they might also be pretty cool and potentially have more potential than I used to think they did. So anyhow, the Skeletors Mark III, fantastic. These guys were real MVPs for me, especially in that first fight against the monstrosity when I took out the Xenos. That assault ability, while keeping their defense reasonable, especially combined with the Harpy, made them just an absolute centerpiece for that army, and definitely worth keeping in the deck. I'm kind of kicking myself for complaining about assault in some of my earlier videos. But anyhow, yeah, I'm coming around to liking some of these assault units, especially with Skeletors once you get the tech. And I'll come back to that in a moment real quick here before I go on. The Skeletors Mark II I was less impressed by. They're nice to have, but they don't take the buffs as well. Their stats are just lower across the board. And other than the fact that they can move around very quickly, they don't have a ton going for them. These guys can be nice, I think, especially in a bigger game. Potentially team them up with a Harpy and send them around to swat down Recon units and stuff like that you're able to detect. Machines tends to have really good defensive recon, I think, and so using these guys to kind of respond to stuff that your Ghost Probe bots and your Spider bots and stuff uncover, I think is a potential idea for them, if the game kind of plays out that way. The Skeletors Mark I, I was thoroughly unimpressed by. They're super basic. They don't take buffs well. I mean, you can work with them, but yeah. The cyborgs, on the other hand, I think might be quite interesting between the double attack and the extra attachment. And I'm actually going to ignore the rest of the three. The Sentinels are Sentinels. They're an engineer unit. I like them. I think they're worth taking. It frees up heroes. And lets them garrison some of those things against just scouts and stuff like that, like an important hex that you don't want to put a base on. But other than that, thralls I think are worthless. Spiders I think are worthless. So let's talk about the tech, because I think it's the infantry that get the most help from tech for the machines. And we'll kick things off with the genetics, because the big thing here is the Neuroneedler. And I've kind of changed my tune. I think if I were to do this again, I might take a genetics scientist rather than a tech scientist. So basically, instead of Cybria and Empiricus, I'd probably ditch Empiricus and take, where is he? Yeah, this dude, or thing, whatever. Miseria. Because I think the geneticist is probably the more valuable of the techs, especially because that then opens up the possibility of cyborgs. And the skin suit is very good. You've got your Doom weapon here. The Thrall Chamber's worthless, and the Viral Homunculi I think are worthless. Espionage doesn't do much, and Thralls are garbage. This, on the other hand, pairs very well with the Assassin, because she's got Slayer. But we'll get that in a moment. Anyhow, the Neuroneedler alone for the infantry really turns them into something scary. And then you combine that with a cyborg enhancer. I think it does open up the possibility of including cyborgs quite effectively. As for the technology, a little less impressed here. The nanite cloud is nice. The defensive nanites are very good. But basically what this means is you could give your cyborgs this nanite cloud in addition to the cyborg enhancer and the goo gun, the neuroneedler. And then you've got another big boom thing down here. But yeah, machine tech, not so impressive. The stealth suite kind of meh. SRMs are in general meh. I very rarely find myself needing to bomb facilities. And then a weapon of mass destruction is a weapon of mass destruction. So less impressed with the tech, but I do think that the tech that they do have synergizes very, very well. There we go. But yeah, it really helps out their infantry in a pretty big way. Especially the Skeletors Mark III here. So, okay, I babbled enough about infantry, I think. Elite infantry, I like the Lich platoons. I found them very useful. Was less impressed with the Scourge platoons. I still think they're good to have, and they do take the tech well. But, well, I mean, realistically, all that hurts with these is the cost to get them out. Once you get them out, they're fantastic units. You throw the Neuroneedler and defensive nanites on these guys, and they're gonna stomp a lot of stuff. Only thing they can't take are the training cards, which can be helpful, but I don't think they need the training cards. So that's kind of nice. The automats. Leviathan and Behemoths, I didn't take any, but they're great cards. They just, again, don't fit with the way that I build my decks. Too expensive in resources, action points, and just points in general. The Proteus, given for a 5, 6, 8, 7 hit point card, the problem with the Proteus is he's really going to struggle to do damage to anything significant. He can tank very well, but typically the AI won't target the high defense units anyhow, so having a tank or a unit specifically to try and absorb damage just doesn't work very well, because the AI is smart enough to target what it thinks it can most likely kill. Breakthrough can be nice, didn't mean to click. So you can break through and hit the enemy lines in the rear, but in the scheme of things, compared to what the infantry can end up being capable of, I just don't think the Proteus necessarily keeps up. Harpies, on the other hand, yes. Harpies, yes. Throw them in. They're great. They make your infantry happy. Colossus, again, great unit, just doesn't fit the deck. 20 hit points, 14 attack with multi-target and energy weapon is devastating. This crashes into just about anything, and that thing is going to have a very bad day. The Styx is cool. It's basically a beefy version of the Scourge platoon. 7 attack, 5 defense with shock attack, and 8 attack, 6 defense with the shock attack, more hit points, but is slower. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I like infantry, so I took Scourge platoons, also, especially because you team them up with a Harpy, and they're actually bigger and nastier than the Styx, and they have tech that helps them more. So, what I did take with a couple of Cyclops, and these guys can definitely punch a bit harder. The double attack is pretty effective. If you can find any kind of weapon in the wild that can be mounted on a vehicle and bumps up their attack at all, this has the potential to be a fantastic unit. But otherwise, I just don't know what you do with it. Again, the Neuro Needler with the ability to put neurotoxin on any one of your infantry to do an extra, 4 damage potentially, is just so effective. Hydras, I don't know why you would ever take these. Straight up. Attack 4, defense 3, 3 hit points. I mean, it has reconnaissance, but again, take a Lich platoon. They can also stealth, so they can operate on their own. They are tougher, and they can take the infantry buffs. Lich platoons with Neuro Needlers are scary. Hydra cannot be made scary. Recon, Ghost Probes and Spider Bots. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. These guys are nice to park around a base, just because their strength is so high. They don't have the range though, and they're very squishy. So toss one of these in a garrison, and nothing is going to sneak up on you. Ghost Probes you can use a bit more actively, I think, because they have the stealth, so you can send them poking around your territory. The other nice thing too is the spider bots are very fast. So if you think there might be something that you want to hunt, like a hero or something like that, you can actually race them out pretty quickly to go and track it down. These guys, on the other hand, quite a bit slower. And like all the light recon, they're going to die. The other recon, the Lich platoon, is a really cool defensive unit, I think, for dealing with things like the commandos, or Ravengers, or other units like that you might find running around in your lines. High hit points, high attack, reasonable defense that, again, can be improved with defensive nanites. And then you can take a Neuro Needler. So you can turn these guys into something pretty scary, should you feel so inspired. If you happen to get something that gets find an Enviro suit or something crazy like that, give them the defensive nanites, the Enviro suit, and something that gives them commando, and send them way off into God knows where. That does tie into the one commando unit that they do have, which is these Revenant platoons, which have the potential to, I don't know, I feel like I want to do something with them, because I could build the stealthing suite and put them on the Revenant platoon, and then have stealthy commandos that can air assault, and that might be funny. But I don't know if I should try to see if I can make it work. I don't know, that would be weird and cool, if I could. But didn't happen in this game. Okay. Battle support, I didn't take anything. That said, the machines do have very good artillery. And as a matter of fact, if I were to rebuild this deck, or if I were to build this deck bigger, I would probably include battle support before I would include more of the Cyclops or the Prometheus. Because the battle support can sit behind some of your fairly effective infantry. You might lose out on some Harpies, but you're going to be going a bit slower anyhow. So if I were to trade speed, I would probably get battle support. Anyhow, let's talk about why. So the zombie launcher is rear area, shock attack, and disrupt. It's not bad, but the real MVP, I think, is this Shade mobile artillery, where it does a disable by 3, so it lowers their attack by 3 for 2 rounds. And it's got area attack, so it can potentially disable 2 units in one shot. And it's got a reasonable attack. Be nice if you could get something a bit more than that, but c'est la vie. But yeah, I think this is probably a really fantastic artillery piece. The rest of it, air defense, mobile HQ, and leper, whatever. If you feel the need to have a missile launcher, take a leaper. Leper, yes. Hunter-killer teams. I don't know what you do with them. Same as the Imperial Commandos. Yeah, just, I don't know. If anybody has any ideas for what to do with a hunter-killer team, let me know. Or Imperial Commandos for that matter, because I've never seen one. Machine air power, I only took the apparition. It's not bad, but it's, I don't know. I guess machine air power is underwhelming compared to the Imperium's air power. And so I don't tend to bother with it. And I mean, the only reason the Imperium's air power is amazing is because of the Nightwing, that stealth bomber contraption. I don't mind this. I think it works, especially as a defensive unit, as an AA unit. Of course, it's hard countered by the Nightwing or Nighthawk bomber, because its attack gets cut in half, so it's 3 attack, and it doesn't work. Against other air units, though, it can be quite effective. So worth having around just for that. I think the Wraith and the Spectre, or the rest of them, I honestly think that probably your best bet here is probably the Spectre, because it has either the Spectre or the Phantasm. Possibly even the Phantasm. He doesn't do as much damage, but the range 1 recon can be really helpful, I think. The other nice thing too is you can deploy these guys out of armies. So if you've got an army camped outside a city, because they're helicopters, they take damage doing that, but you can do it. And it can be a pretty effective way sometimes to do some damage to a facility before you try and assault it or something. So worth considering. The Wraith isn't bad. I find the Wraith to be pretty fragile. 3 hit points, 3 defense. With nothing really to boost that, makes it pretty squishy to air defense. Whereas these guys, 4 hit points, 4 defense is significantly higher, and even just the 4 defense here is significantly higher. So I tend to avoid the Wraith, because the only other advantage it has is the ability to respond to intercept. So yeah. Generals. Maldictus. Let's see here. What do we think about Maldictus? He's fantastic. I mean, he was my main hero in the game that I played. Increase the movement rate is insane. Being able to move around the map quickly. I know it makes life so much easier. Aggressive, whatever. Initiative can be very nice, especially when you're working with harpies. Get a unit that's in danger, get its defense boosted up early on. That basically won me that battle against the monstrosity, because I was able to keep those Skeletor's hit points up. Tormentia is an interesting one. Chief of hand, so she increases your hand size, but the machines already have a hand size of 9. And so I do question whether or not it's worth a hero to increase your hand size. And then +1 to attack and defense can be useful, but I mean, she kind of wants to sit in your base for the chief of staff. So, and again, if you're being attacked at your base, having a dedicated general for it isn't necessarily going to help. Or at least if you're being attacked in your headquarters, you're probably in trouble. Mortificus, I didn't end up deploying him. He sat in my hand for pretty much the entire game, possibly the entire game. I can't remember. He's good for the Raider ability, but I was able to spread my supply in such a way that, realistically, I lucked out when the Empire of Man very kindly deployed that firebase for me. Otherwise, he would have been useful, for sure. Aggressive, handy, but then you're trading the speed. Infernicus is a trickster and a tactician. I don't care for either. Well, tactician too is just mediocre. And tactician or trickster, the Machine Empire doesn't run away well anyhow, so I'm not sure the value in him. Tyrannicus, tactical genius and tactician. I like him as a backup tactician. The tactical genius is also handy. I mean, you saw in my humans game, or if you saw my humans game, I made extensive use of Vladimir Kost and his tactical genius ability. So I like having him. I think he can be pretty effective, especially as a backup general. But I do think Maledictus is probably my favorite of the machine generals. Okay, didn't take a scout, though I did really waffle on Reconicus here. And if I had a stealthy commando unit with Recon, I would put Reconicus in command of that. Like, if I had something equivalent to the Imperial Rangers, I would totally put him in command of that. Bounty Hunter's nice. Increasing observation checks is nice. So yeah, I'd use him, but since I don't have the units that match, then I don't bother. Arachnia, she's interesting because she doesn't have stealth, but she does have Raider. So you can't... I mean, you could combine her with... I don't even know if you could. Like, you might be able to give her a skin suit to at least give her stealth, and then attach her to your Lich platoon. But that seems incredibly convoluted for what is essentially just a reconnaissance commander. And then Luminicus, he's your air ranger. If I ever feel like doing something silly with the Revenant platoons, I will take where is he? I will take Luminicus, because Air Ranger and Jump Master, so why not? For agents, the MVP here, you're looking at Diabolica, Assassin, and Slayer. And then for added fun, you give her the skin suit, and she becomes a level 8 assassin with a stealth of 8, who also has Slayer. So she kills everything she comes across, and nobody can find her. Didn't happen in this game because I drew her like literally the turn that I won, but I've had a ton of fun with Diabolica before. The rest of them I'm kind of indifferent to. Saboteur, whatever. I don't tend to worry about blowing up facilities. It's a cool aspect of the game, it's just I've never really leaned into it because it's so much more efficient just to kill everything. Obscura, Saboteur, and Espionage, again, I just don't really use them. And then we've got a sort of a C-tier assassin here, with Stealth, Assassin, and Espionage. Though what's interesting is even though he's a cyborg, you can still put the skin suit on him and get him up to Assassin 9, which actually makes him pretty legitimately terrifying. But and you could actually get him up to Espionage 9 instead if you felt so inspired, because you could give him the viral homunculi. So I guess you could do something with him. He might be cool. But intellects, Primus and Mechanus are my two go-tos, especially Primus. 2 to tech and genetics rolls and increases action points by 2. Yes, please, with a side Aiken. And then logistical genius, increased supply range, is kind of a no-brainer. Mechanicus is a just masterful tactician. I think especially, I got him late, so it was my other general who did most of my real tactics stuff. But you get him early and combine him with a oh gosh, what is it? Conflict node. And he's got a ton of potential there because the machines do have pretty good tactics cards. Just give me a second. Let me find where I put them. There they are. They do have pretty good tactics cards. Taking everybody's fate points, lowering success dice. Like, I mean, these are pretty decent. Especially like you manage to get resistance is futile or control or something like that. Just straight up get three additional successes because that won't win you things. And then of course all the infantry boosts and stuff like that as well. What else? I already talked a little bit about the scientists. I just think I think that especially if you wanted to go with any kind of cyborgs, I do think going the genetics route with Miseria here makes a lot of sense. But because at least then you've still got Cybria here who can do most techie things. And you can always upgrade the labs and stuff like that for higher level tech if you do feel like you need to build a giant bomb or something like that. What else? Other than that, everything I took was pretty standard. I went for my crashed troop pod because it doesn't cost points. I had a single terminus, one knowledge node, one conflict node, no infrastructure, and an intel node. So yeah, that's the deck. Oh, and the tiles. Sorry, I guess you would have seen them, but staging area strip mines. If you were to play with cyborgs, you'd probably just have to remove and go for secondary resource. We want shanty towns. Yeah, put it in the shanty towns. And then you've got your one human resource so you can get your cyborgs out. And all should be right with the world. But yeah, so once again, hope you enjoyed. Let me know, does it make more sense to you to have these before or after the games? Or maybe both? I don't know. So yeah, I guess I will catch you in the next, once I get around to recording again. Cheers.